Liberal Viewer presents.
So, limits on the use of pilotless aircraft, especially to target and kill individuals, is an issue that will only increase in importance as the use of the technology increases, and the use of the technology is increasing, as a great Nova special, Rise of the Drones, that aired on PBS last month, pointed out in this clip.
The CIA maintains a covert drone program to find and target individuals. The government claims drones have helped to eliminate up to 70% of Al-Qaeda's top leadership. They've been so effective, the Air Force predicts nearly a third of its attack and fighter planes will be drones within a decade.
Planes can fly longer, they can pull more Gs, they can be more precise when they bomb if a human is not in the cockpit.
We're entering a new era when the supremacy of even the most advanced planes is being challenged as engineers take the pilot out of the cockpit.
Now, as someone with a degree in history that focused on military history, I have to see some upside in the new drone technology in the context of the history of air warfare that nearly destroyed whole cities in World War II, and the Nova Special gave some of that context in this clip.
During World War II, it took on the order of months to assemble intelligence from a variety of different sources, whether it be airborne, on the ground, to assimilate that information and then determine what targets might be hit. Then it took hundreds of aircraft and literally thousands of bombs to go out and attack a target using that information that had been developed over a period of months. Today, with the capabilities all wrapped up into one vehicle, the Predators and the Reapers in particular, you can accomplish that find, fix, finish cycle in a matter of single-digit minutes.
Now, there's also an obvious possible downside to the U.S. government being able to now find, target, and execute people all in a matter of minutes, but before addressing those problems, the Nova Special Rise of the Drones also showed a seemingly paradoxical way in which remotely piloted missions can actually give pilots a stronger feeling of the consequences of their kills, as you can see here.
In real strikes, like this one in Iraq, technology actually allows drone pilots to see more than manned pilots ever have.
Because we have such a long loiter time, there's potential to have eyes on the target that we are going to blow up for hours ahead of time. Then we employ on it, strike the target. And then stick around for another few hours to watch what happens afterwards. You have to stay there and then stay plugged in and stay focused on the destruction that you just caused from your aircraft.
I can't say it's a bad thing for Americans to get such a better view of the consequences of airstrikes, but of course the real problem with the drones is the way they make more ambiguous where the battlefield ends and what's an act of war when drones can strike anyone, anywhere, as you can see in this clip.
Drone technology enables America to strike virtually anyone, anywhere with ease, regardless of national boundaries.
We've seen this deep controversy that surrounds these strikes in places like Pakistan or Yemen or Somalia, and a whole new series of questions for international law.
The fact that you're not flying a human being across a national boundary still makes it an invasion of a country.
We've entered an era where we are conducting an array of operations using unmanned systems that in a previous generation we would have called war, and we would have treated like war. When you're conducting more than 300 airstrikes into a country, you're conducting the equivalent of at least an air war campaign, but we don't call it that now.
So it's not that the U.S. hasn't targeted individuals before or even targeted them from the air, and it's not that the U.S. doesn't have a right to defend itself against imminent attacks, including with drones. It's more about what rules will limit how drones are used, as the ACLU's Chris Anders explained on a segment that ran last month on PBS's NewsHour in conjunction with the Rise of the Drones Nova special, including this clip.
Every country has a right to defend itself and defend itself against imminent, concrete, specific attacks that could cause death, even if those are away from the battlefield. But what we don't know here is exactly how these rules are being applied. Now, we know that the Washington Post just reported over the weekend that there's a secret playbook that's being developed by the Obama administration. But from that playbook, the CIA program in Pakistan, which is the biggest player in this whole thing, is entirely exempt. So you have a secret playbook on what the rules are, but then the rules don't apply to the biggest player. Mm-hmm. So to say, we follow the rule of law, well, we don't even know what the rules are, and then the rules don't apply to the biggest player, is a little bit of a joke, I guess.
Now, some of the punchline to that joke has been revealed since that PBS NewsHour segment aired last month. At the beginning of February, Michael Isikoff of NBC News got a hold of an Obama administration document justifying the killing of American citizens associated with al-Qaeda on foreign soil, though it's just a brief outline, not the real Office of Legal Counsel memos that give the full justification. And as the ACLU's Jamil Jaffer explained in his blog post, The Justice Department's White Paper on Targeted Killing, these new details, quote, underscore both the recklessness of the government's central claim and the deficiencies in the government's defense of it, unquote. And that's why the public, or at least their representatives in Congress, really need to see the full legal memos drafted in 2010 that the ACLU's Chris Anders explained back on the PBS NewsHour last month in this clip.
The legal opinion that was drafted by the Justice Department now a couple of years ago has been so tightly held that even Senator Wyden, the number 3 ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is supposed to have oversight, is not allowed to see the opinion. So it means that, and then the courts themselves are not applying due process. They've declined to take the cases, the challenges to the program. So it means that this is the checks and balances that should be applying don't apply here. We don't have the courts having oversight, and we basically have the committees that are supposed to have oversight over this program being denied the basic information on what the law is.
And the question of why even Democratic Senator Ron Wyden could not get access to these legal memos from the Obama administration was exactly the question Jon Stewart asked on The Daily Show on Thursday in the clip you can see here.
The main question this raises is, what is in those drone memos that is so terrible? The White House will give anything, including information previously not seen about the Benghazi attacks, not to have to release them. For more, we go to senior intelligence correspondent Asif Manvi in Washington. Asif, thank you for joining us. I understand, Asif, if I'm not mistaken, you have obtained a copy of these drone memos.
What?
Are those the drone memos right there, Asif? Is that
right? Where?
In your hand? You got the...
No memos. Nope. Never saw any memos. John, I saw them. Oh my God.
And to continue the joke, Daily Show correspondent Asif Manvi put on a bulletproof vest and a helmet to give this report.
If you think that the memos state that President Obama, from his desk, can currently operate drones to kill anyone, anywhere, at any time with no legal restrictions or oversight using a special Xbox controller, then you are crazy. You're not crazy, John. That's what they say. Oh, my God, I saw them!
Oh, my God, Asif! That's an amazing report. Get home safe, Asif. Get home safe.
There is no Asif. It's just the sound of wind blowing through the trees.
Now, that may seem like just comedy, but this Comedy Central scenario of President Obama ordering drone strikes on Americans on American soil is actually something President Obama failed to rule out last week when he took part in a Google Hangout where my right-wing Polypop colleague Lee Doran got the opportunity to participate and was able to ask the question and get the answer you can see in this clip.
Regarding drones, a lot of people are very concerned that your administration now believes it's legal to have drone strikes on American citizens, and whether or not that's specifically allowed with citizens within the United States. And if that's not true, what will you do to create a legal framework to make American citizens within the United States know that drone strikes cannot be used against American citizens?
Well, first of all, I think there has never been a drone used on an American citizen on American soil. And we respect and have a whole bunch of safeguards in terms of how we conduct counterterrorism operations outside of the United States. The rules outside the United States are going to be different than the rules inside the United States, in part because our capacity to, for example, capture terrorists in the United States are very different than in the foothills or mountains of Afghanistan or Pakistan. But what I think is absolutely true is that it is not sufficient for citizens to just take my word for it that we're doing the right thing.
What do you believe we should do?
I am the head of the executive branch, and what we've done so far is to try to work with Congress on oversight issues. But part of what I'm going to have to work with Congress on is to make sure that whatever it is that we're providing Congress, that we have mechanisms to also make sure that the public understands what's going on, what the constraints are, what the legal parameters are, and that's something that I take very seriously. I am not somebody who believes that the president has the authority to do whatever he wants or whatever she wants whenever they want, just under the guise of counterterrorism. There have to be legal checks and balances on it.
Now, while it's nice to hear President Obama say he favors checks and balances, what was glaringly absent in that answer was a simple denial of the power to execute drone strikes on Americans on American soil, as the ACLU's Matthew Harwood pointed out in the blog post, The Softball Question That Wasn't, which also pointed out that Obama's claim in that Google Hangout to have the most transparent administration in history isn't really consistent with secret rules for killing people and failing to release most of those legal memos even to the members of Congress responsible for oversight, which also isn't really consistent with the rule of law or those checks and balances Obama talked about, I think, but I want to know what you think. What actions must the Obama administration take to live up to President Obama's statements about transparency and checks and balances? And on the bigger question, when technology gives government the power to kill virtually anyone, anywhere, what limits should be put on that power?
YouTube, you decide.